Uh, Hello and welcome to another session of Talk to the Expert series organized by the Spectrum Autism team. Namaskar, I am Divya, a child psychologist and a mandala artist, and most importantly, a proud mother of two lovely boys. Being a parent, and especially a mother, is being like a roller coaster ride with lots of ups and downs, love, emotions, difference of opinions, conflicts, and much more. But still, as they say, being a mother is learning about strengths you had and dealing with fears you don't know existed. But being without all this diversity and everything, and the age gap of 8 years between my children, I still look up to them. They are my strength, and I love them. A parent's love is whole, no matter how many times it's divided. So, the theme this year at Spectrum Autism is empowering parents. And following the lead, we have Mrs. Shwetha who is here with us today and is a proud mother of Aditi Sowmyanarayan. Before, before we start the interacting session, let me give you a brief about Shwetha. Shwetha has a degree in finance and banking and has worked as a team lead in a tax team. She has worked with autistic children at Learning Tree Montessori, House of Children, then in Brindavan Education Trust, and as a coordinator of Discover Momentum Learning Center for Children with Special Needs. Now let us introduce you all with the star genius here, Aditi Sowmyanarayan, who is a 17-year-old blogger and an author. She attends Ishanya India Foundation in Bangalore. Aditi uses the text-to-speech app Avaz on her iPad to communicate. Avaz is an augmentative and alternative communication tool. It is an electric version of picture exchange cards used primarily for children with autism spectrum. As a freelancer, she writes blogs over a Avaz megaphone. She is an avid blogger and blogs on Small Step, Big Thought blogspot. Her debut fiction novella, With You Right Do, is available for sale on Kindle and Kindle app worldwide. Her blogs are published on Book Osmania, which is a leading online publisher for under 18. Aditi has contributed her perspective to Talking Finger, which is first of its kind, bringing in for the perspective of non-speaking autistics in India. Talking Fingers celebrates neurodiversity and advocates that autism is not realm of abyss anymore. Talking Fingers is a book co-edited by Padma Jyoti and Chitrapur. Now let's welcome Shwetha and let's talk more about Aditi. Hello Shwetha, welcome to the session.
Hi, happy to be here. Glad to be here and contribute my 2 bit to this space, to this evolving space, and share my perspective about Aditi and her growing up years.
We are very glad to have you for the session, and let's interact and know more about Aditi. So first of all, I would like to ask you, just take us through the journey about raising Aditi. How did it go?
The thing is, when a child comes into this world, and especially if that child happens to be your first child, right? Along with that, and you're a young parent, comes a whole ton of aspirations. You want your child to do this, you want your child to do that, you want to give the best to your child. And that's how, our parenting journey with Aditi began as well, because she's our first child, she's our older daughter. But the thing with Aditi was all her milestones were delayed. She had a slight developmental delay, possibly owing to a fetal distress at birth, since I developed mild hypertension. So she started walking when she was 18 months old. But what concerned us at that point of time is the lack of speech, the lack of the 2-syllable sounds that typically babies make. And that is when we took her to, this was, I think, the year 2006. And we took her to a fairly leading developmental pediatrician. I don't want to take names here. And Aditi was also someone who developed anxieties at a very young age. Now I realize, going back, it was her autism, it was her sensory differences, her sensory difficulties. But at that point of time, she had a lot of stranger anxiety and new place anxieties and stuff. So when we took Aditi down for an assessment to this developmental pediatrician, Aditi just stiffened herself. She was, I think, 1.5-year-old baby then, completely stiffened herself and refused to, allow the doctor to examine her. So we promptly got a misdiagnosis. The doctor said, look, your daughter has cerebral palsy. Her hands and legs are so stiff, and that could be the reason. Maybe there could be a speech delay. The doctor was very quick to jump at a diagnosis. So we took Aditi back with the diagnosis to our pediatrician, who is no more now, but was a very senior and very experienced pediatrician. And he said, look, Aditi, there could be delays. I'm not trying to point or give any labels at this point of time, but it is definitely not cerebral palsy. Your child has already started walking. There's absolutely no palsy. There could be something else. Why don't you start working on interacting with her, ask her to look at you, and then, talk to her, teach her to point for things and things like that. And we started doing it. A few months down the lane, around the time that Aditi was 2, there was no speech. But we had to move to Chennai for a year. And Chennai, being the kind of climate that it was, very hot and very humid, did not work very well for Aditi. She started having very repeated episodes of stomach upset and diarrhea and all of that. So while we were very, the red flag was there, she was not talking, the red flag was there at the back of our heads. There was very much, there really wasn't much that we could do. But we met a developmental pediatrician at Mehta's Children's Hospital, who told us that this could be autism, right? And maybe you need to start working, but we'll have to do an assessment. But we did move back to Bangalore 11 months after that. And then we took her to Parijama. And that is where she was assessed and diagnosed as somebody having autism. Now, the thing is, this was, I would say, late 2007, early 2008. And even in a big city like Bangalore, there was only so much of awareness, about autism. And the thing with doctors is they give you a label, they give you a certificate, and they send you. Nobody bothers to explain to you what it is, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
as a young parent, you're like, you're completely in dire straits, you're in denial, you're like, why the hell, why me, why my child?
Right.
And then even when you do, of course, there is internet. And even when you try to, go through the internet and try to understand what autism is, as a parent, I believe you tend to have your blinkers on, especially when you're going through a phase of denial yourself, right?
Right.
You look
Right.
through all those, whatever they describe about autism, whatever characteristics that they describe about autism, at the back of your head, ki that is true, but you don't want to accept it.
Right.
And this is where I believe that, we need to have doctors, we need to have therapists, we need to have professionals who deliver the hard message. They tell you on your face, look, buddy, your child is going to be different for the rest of their lives, because autism is not a disease that can be cured. Autism is a disorder. To put it very, blankly, the way your child's brain is wired is very different. And, that's how it's going to be for the rest of their lives. So, so that's what happened. And then we started off with the whole early intervention thing, because that's considered as a, a golden period. And that's when, there's a lot of push for speech therapy. There's a lot of push for, occupational therapy. So some of the issues for Aditi came under control. She's somebody with a lot of hypersensitivity around her mouth area. So for a long time, she used to eat just mashed food because she could not deal with the sensation of chewing food and then, different textures around her mouth. So those were the things that came into control with occupational therapy. By the time she was around 4, she started eating normal food. But speech never happened. There were other perception issues, depth perception issues, getting down the stairs and all would be a challenge. A lot of that actually got resolved with, occupational therapy. And then she started schooling at a small preschool where they had a special educator. But she was somebody who had a lot of, separation anxiety. And our own understanding of autism was something very minimal. And we were in huge denial. And our minimal understanding of autism was that structure works very well for those with autism. So we took Aditi to this, for LKG, to this mainstream school, where we did tell, the school is supposed to be an inclusive one. So, we did tell the school that, look, my daughter is on the autism spectrum. And when she had to go there for the interaction, there was absolutely no speech. And we told them that as well. But then the thing is, at that early, stage, most children don't have speech. And it's very difficult for professionals, for doctors to give a prognosis and say whether this child will get speech or whether this child won't get speech. That is something
Correct,
only time
correct.
can
That
tell.
is a very young age to identify that whether
Yes.
it is normal speaking, or so that means that a very young age you were not even diagnosed properly, or you were given the correct
See
thing.
that, in terms of labeling, we got a correct diagnosis. She was
Okay,
autistic, yes. But today, you know, after raising Aditi for 17 years, I can tell you one thing: autism being a communication disorder, even children, you know, who pick up speech may not necessarily be able to communicate. Now, that is a
correct.
totally, you know,
That is
different
different scene.
space
Correct,
altogether. But having
correct,
said that, many children pick up speech, right? It's a smaller percentage, around 40% don't pick up speech. But at that age, 3 years, 4 years, whether your child is going to pick up speech or not pick up speech is a prognosis no therapist or no doctor will be able to give you, right? We
correct,
just try.
correct.
We do what needs to be done. It's destiny. Jo hona hai, whatever has to happen will happen. So we took her to this mainstream school, which was a complete disaster because that was clearly, you know, class of 40 was not the setup for her. For somebody with that level of sensory issues, now when I understand autism, you know, I can
Right.
imagine what a hell it must have been for Aditi, right? All because as parents, we were in denial and we were clueless.
And
So,
as you told that she experienced anxiety at a very young age, so a
yes,
number of 40 was a big number
yes,
to for her to, you
yes.
know, be in that space. So that must be
Exactly, the noises, the sounds, the visual stimulation, the auditory stimulation. Today, I
too
can
much
tell you
for
it
her
must
to
have been
handle.
hell for her.
Too much for
So,
her.
yes. But then the good part was the coordinator at the school actually introduced us to a small setup. It is an inclusive setup, a Montessori learning center,
Okay.
pre-primary center for normal children, where they included 1 or 2 children with special needs. Now, the school has just about 50 or 52 children. It
Correct.
was a small setup, and we moved Aditi into this Montessori, and that is where she really settled in into the, you know, the routine of going to school. She started enjoying going to school, and you know, some amount of learning started to
She could
happen.
adapt that environment. She
Yeah,
was comfortable there.
yeah, because sensorially it was a, you know, less overwhelming space for her, and there was
Right.
somebody who was trained to work with, you know, somebody like Aditi as well. And we
Mhm.
that was also the time, you know, we were guided to Comdeal Trust. Now,
Mhm.
Condil Trust is one of the pioneers of working with autistic children in India. So,
Okay.
as a part of their program, we were first introduced to AAC, but this was 2008, 2009, when there was no touchscreen technology. So, the way, you know, they would do PECs is basically they would, you know, have these folders into which they stick pictures, picture of mother, picture of father, picture of food, picture of water, and you augment communication like that. You train the child, right? If you want your mama, you know, mother, point to the picture of
Point.
mother. If you want, if you're thirsty, point to the picture of water, and then they take it forward from there, right?
Correct.
Now, like most parents, we did not follow it through because it doesn't seem very natural to carry a folder around and point.
Right.
I mean, for us, speech is like the most natural known form of communication, right?
Correct. Correct.
We did not follow through. Eventually, Aditi settled very well into the school system, and we realized that she was somebody who picked up reading very soon, but she was
Okay.
also somebody who needed technology for learning.
Mhm.
Because, you know, sensorially manipulating some of the materials were not, you know, the best of options for her. So when
Right.
she was, I think, around 7 is when we introduced her to an iPad.
Okay.
But that was primarily from the you know, perspective of doing functional academic learning, and
Mhm.
not from the perspective of communication. But that is when we also realized that Aditi is somebody who had very good reading skills, and she could read fairly well. And that was also the time, you know, there was a educator there. At the Montessori, who also is a journalist by profession and who reviewed Talking Fingers as well, Shashi Rao, who first introduced us to, you know, this whole thing called RPM, which you know, in principle, it basically talks about using text as a mode of communication. So
Correct.
that is
Correct.
when we started working with Aditi. Like, you know, we gave her Scrabble tiles, and then we taught her, right? We asked her a question, and then she had to use those tiles to give us an answer. So that is when, and that was something she picked up. Like I told you, her reading and spelling skills were fairly
Right.
good. So
Okay.
that is something that she picked up fairly well. With some amount of training, with some amount of this thing, she picked up fairly well. But again, using that as a consistent mode of communication is something I don't think as parents we also did.
Right.
We did try, after that, we tried a few apps like Tippy Talk, few AAC apps.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Aditi is a very auditory learner. About 70% of children on the autism spectrum are visual, but Aditi is auditory. So,
Okay.
apps like Tippy Talk that rely largely on pictures and are visual did not exactly work for her. She started using it as a plaything, as a stim thing. So we really didn't follow through. We knew she had very good reading skills. We knew she had very good spelling skills. And, we could use that at any point of time, but really didn't happen. What
Okay.
happened is in January of 2020, considering Aditi was growing up, we were looking for other educational options, other skill development options. So that is
Right.
when we came across Ishanya India Foundation here in Bangalore. Now, this is a learning center for adolescents and young adults with special needs. And they largely do technology-based training for these children. So Aditi started off her sessions at Ishanya in January 2020, and that is when she was introduced to Avaz. Now, Avaz basically has two modes. One is the typical PEX mode, the picture exchange mode. The other is a keypad, which will be exactly like your computer keypad.
All right.
Like a computer, like you type on a computer, when you ask them a question, they can type the answer out and
Okay.
respond to you. Now, this is the mode that Aditi uses. She types to communicate. So
Okay.
now the advantage with Avaz is that it has an extensive predictive text feature. So, even if Aditi is using one finger to type, now Aditi is somebody who's very independent with her typing. There are some children who do require prompts and assistance, but Aditi had her learning curve in about 4 or 5 months. She became very independent with
Right.
being able to type, and with the predictive text feature. So that I think was the defining moment, if I have to say, in Aditi's
Correct.
learning, because
Right.
she started to communicate, and the way she communicated, we were, surprise would be a mild word. We were shocked to know that Aditi knew so much, right?
Right.
And that was also when, she was introduced to typing on her laptop. Now, she's somebody who uses a MacBook Pro, and she types on Pages, which is Mac's equivalent to MS Word. The
Correct.
advantage of this is that it has on top of the keypad, it has a small touchscreen sensor, and it
Mm-hmm.
works the same way as ours, right? It has a predictive. So if you want to type, let us say the word beneficial, right? You type
Right.
BEN, it throws out 3 options, one of which will be beneficial, and you touch the option, the thing comes up. So
All
it
right.
basically makes your typing, it's basically like the predictive in our smartphones as well. So, it makes your typing very easy. So, she started using the Mac. It kind of followed like a natural corollary,
Okay.
and little simple exercises where, she would be shown a picture and asked to describe about it. For instance, it's a picture with, let's say, a man standing in front of a gate. The kind of descriptions that she would come up with would not be obvious ones like the man is standing in front of a gate, but rather something like, weaving a tale. It was a dark, gloomy night, and Sam was standing behind the gate. He was
Correct.
anxious and he was waiting for something. That's when we realized that she had it in her to, write. This
Right.
was
Correct.
something, I think this was early 2021, probably Jan 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started working on, different writing styles, different writing techniques. And the way
So
she
this
picked
is
up
the
writing,
time. Sorry.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the way she picked up writing, I think it was eye-opening even for us because we didn't know she had it in her.
Right.
And November 2021 was when she, started her blog page,
Okay.
and she has about 23 blogs to her credit now.
That's great.
And
Great.
she also started contributing to Bookosmia. They started to publish her blogs, and eventually she also wrote a small novella, which is
Yeah.
published on Kindle.
Yeah.
And she also contributed to Talking Fingers. So
That's great. That's amazing. That's really wonderful to know about it. So Awaz is one app which is initially given that push to,
absolutely,
start
absolutely.
writing, which
Yes.
went best for her. We can say that.
Yes.
So Awaz app is something which is contributing, and that is the way she is doing it even today. for means
Uh,
of communication?
Yeah, see, she communicates with Avas. It's like you and I have a conversation, right? Having a conversation with her would be, I say something, she types out what she wants, Avas
Okay.
reads it out. I mean, she types out her response, Avas reads it out. And then,
Okay.
that way, she uses
Okay.
Avas to have a conversation. Basically,
Okay.
that does the talking for her. And if I have to use, her words, Avas basically helped her find her voice. So that's her voice, the digital voice.
Correct. But that's good. That's a way she's found out to talk to you. So
Yes,
that's like
yes.
a communication between both of you. All right. So tell us more about Aditi, what she likes, what's her hobbies, what she likes to do.
Now, Aditi is somebody who loves music.
Okay.
She listens to a lot of different genres. So now that she's a part of this group called Project Lattice, which is basically a bunch of her peers, neurotypical peers. They started this online initiative, social
Okay.
media based initiative, where they write about different things related to acceptance, social
Mhm.
justice, inclusion, and all of that. So she's a content writer for that team. So the
Okay.
nice part is that she's the only neurodivergent person. Everybody else is neurotypical. She gets to interact with her neurotypical peers.
Mhm.
And because of all her interactions, her current favorite is, a bunch of musicians that those girls listen to, Christina Aguilera
Oh.
and Taylor Swift. Yeah, how could I forget her name? Taylor Swift. So,
Right, right, right.
yeah, so she does listen to a lot of different genres. These days, it's Taylor Swift.
Okay.
She's somebody who enjoys reading, but
Mm.
she's also somebody who reads with an audiobook. So rather than visually picking up a book and reading, she's somebody who uses Audible to read a lot of different books.
Okay.
And she loves to watch Netflix. So these days, her current favorite was all those Korean, dramas. Uh,
Okay. Okay. So
so
she
she
is
watches.
she also a BTS fan?
Oh, yeah, yes, she is. She is. At
Like,
some point that what was that permission to dance? It's like so
right,
much it
right.
used to be in my house. So these days it's some Taylor Swift song. So yeah, whatever.
So that's
Typical
good.
things
She's
have.
taking part in all that. And
So,
how is her relation with a sibling? Could you just tell us about your family, about the younger one also, please?
see, for a long time, we did not want to have a sibling because of the fear of autism.
Correct.
Honestly, because it is something so profound, it can completely change the direction of your life,
True,
right?
true.
But
That's right.
then I think when Aditi was around 9, and all of us, we love to travel. We were out for a vacation, and we were at this place that was very crowded. And Aditi doesn't like crowded places. She wanted to step out in a hurry, and she stepped out of the restaurant. There was a tiny step that she did not see.
Okay.
She fell down. She had such a bad, fracture that she fractured her tibial shaft, her leg, right above
Mm.
her ankle. The bone broke into two at an incline, and her leg was casted for 7 weeks before it completely healed, right? But that
Okay.
was also the time, and this orthopedic is a person who's kind of more like a family friend, right? He reminded us, look, today you guys are there for her. Nobody's going to take care of anybody, right? Everybody needs to be independent. But tomorrow, when you're not there in a situation like this, she needs to have somebody, for moral support, somebody who can guide her, who can tell her what needs to be done and what's right, what's wrong, organize things for her.
Right.
That's when the thought kind of even occurred to us. And then we went back and decided to, have another child. And that's how Kriti was born. Now,
Mm.
Kriti and Aditi, they are 11 years apart. And, all that they say about preparing a child for a sibling, preparing doesn't happen. The sibling has to happen for a child to realize what that is and what a huge change that can be. And
I completely understand. I
and for
completely
somebody, like Aditi, it was a huge journey because, see, apart from her, there were us adults at home. So, the noise levels in my house and things being very structured, all of that was a given, right? And
understand.
this, tiny baby comes into your life, wails all night, wakes everybody up in the house. Suddenly, the house is a mess. Suddenly, the
Correct.
baby gets attention. So, the initial reaction, no matter how much you try, you cannot prepare them for that. Okay,
True.
it was like a tsunami and a volcano all happening together with Aditi. But as with every change, I think, it peaks, it throws, and then they settle. And then,
Right.
they start to bond. And see, this is where also, I think the fact that, because see, my younger one picked up speech when she was 11 months old. And she's like me, she loves the sound of her own voice. If she starts talking, she can't stop talking. She's chattering all the time. So,
Okay.
the fact that Aditi has a voice now, she has a way of interacting. She uses Avaz to, interact with all of us, with the younger one. I think it's worked very well for her also in terms of her self-confidence, because it's going to be very challenging to see somebody who's like 1/4 your age chatter a mile a minute, and you have no way of expressing, right? That doesn't
Right.
feel great at all. If that's being rubbed on your face 24/7, it doesn't feel great. So I'm really thankful, Avaz happened. I'm really thankful Ishanya happened, because I think Ishanya was the catalyst, the center that introduced her to Avaz. And yes, I mean, they have a typical sibling relationship, love-hate relationship now. So it's that way, like last week, Kriti came down with a viral, and then Aditi contracted it. And then she was grumbling to her educator. I don't know from where my sister got hold of the stupid infection. So that way, otherwise I wouldn't have got it times.
Yeah, I completely understand this because with my children, also, there's a big 8-year gap. Both boys. So it's like every day, like I'm acting like a referee between them. You stop, you stop. So I can completely understand that how it is going. So that's good to know that she has a good relationship with the
Yeah,
sibling
I
and
think it was
she's
very
enjoying
important
that.
because, otherwise it was just adults at home. And for
Right,
her to, to get that wholesome, that organic kind of a life, you need to have
right,
a sibling. You need to experience the whole gamut of it, She's better
correct,
than you in some ways. She's not so better than you in some ways, but she's a part of your life. And I
correct.
think that experience is very much needed. Autism or no autism, I think every child needs that experience.
Sibling, correct. Actually, they are their secret holders. They want to talk to each other. They want to keep things. "Si tu mat batana, tu mat batana." So this works very well, and it's good that two children are doing their own. They're busy in their own world. So parents also have a sigh of relief. You're right. They're doing their own thing. So
Yes.
that's good to know about Aditi, that she's sharing a good relationship with everyone. Okay, now let's give a little emphasis that how did talking fingers happen to Aditi? What was the motivation? How to come to?
Sorry.
I was introduced to Aditi. No problem.
Yeah. See, Aditi has a Facebook writing page on which
All
she
right.
puts updates about her blog. The Facebook
Okay.
writing page is also called Small Step Big Thought. Now,
Okay.
Aditi was somebody whose blogs caught on, and about 6 or 7 blogs down the lane, one day she gets a message from Padma on her, Facebook writing page saying, "I'm somebody who's working on this book, and then I want to bring out the perspectives of non-speaking autistics. And, people at Avaz recommended that I get in touch with you." So now Aditi is somebody who uses social media very independently, fairly confidently. And she, happily responded. She did not even tell me. She happily responded saying, "I'll be more than happy. Please send me the questions." So that is when Padma sent her the questions along with, and I think Padma must have also been very surprised because she probably wouldn't have expected a response coming back pat from a 17-year-old like that. But she sent back that, parental consent form.
Right.
And that is when Aditi showed it to me and my husband. And then we went back, to social media. We did a little bit of digging up and understanding. And then we realized Padma is somebody, who runs this blog site. She's a parent and she's, somebody who's also an activist, a parent activist and things. And that's when we signed the consent and we decided to, go ahead. And it was a very good decision to make. Aditi, made that decision in a snap second without asking anybody. She just sent her consent.
That was an independent
But
decision that I need to go. So that's
yeah, I'll
just a
do.
formality to please sign that I
I'll
am
do.
taking it forward.
Yes, it's a
That's
reminder, for us to teach our adolescents about internet safety. This was a
correct.
very good thing, but not everything that comes on social media, not everything that comes through internet, not everything that comes through email is good.
Right.
So, but this was a good thing, very good thing. And that's
But
how
she could
Talking
make
Fingers
out that this
happened.
is something she's interested into, and like you told, she's good in reading and she wanted to write. She
Yeah,
already was blogging. So
yes.
maybe this might have interested her. Ki, this is something I want to do.
Yes.
So that's why she initially said yes, and then she came to you.
See, I mean, who doesn't at 17? See, if at 17 somebody told me you're an amazing writer, I love your
Right.
writing. Do you want to write for me? I would have said
Course.
yes as well, right?
Of
That's a very
course.
normal reaction for a 17-year-old.
Correct. Absolutely,
So,
absolutely fine. Okay. So, what is next on block for Aditi in the coming months? What should we look up to? What is coming for her digital?
see, Aditi actually has this collection of short stories.
Okay.
She's been mentored by Bukosmia. Bukosmia runs a mentoring program called Sprouts.
Great.
And as a part of that program, she's written this collection of short stories. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Small Stories, Big Thought,
Okay.
largely slice of life stories. And the book has gone into printing. And the tentative launch date that we are having for this book is next Saturday, February 11th at
Oh,
4
that's
o'clock.
great. That's great.
So we are hoping to keep our deadline,
Sure,
and
sure.
something that we're looking forward to. Something I hope Aditi is yet again able to, make a connect with her readers with this collection of hers.
All the best for this, and yeah,
Thank
we hope
you.
and we know that it will be a success. Everything goes well with Aditi. So
Yeah.
that's very good to know about her. Okay, we have Brian saying that it's lovely to hear a new dimension of ours. Thank you so much for being in the session, and I'm glad that you are finding interesting and you're getting some outputs from the session. And okay, so a little more of question I can ask you is that when a new parent is informed that the therapist, that a child is non-speaking, like you have experienced all that in your phase. So what is the guidance? Yeah, what do you recommend for them? How to cope
See,
up with it or
uh,
understand the situation? Yeah,
See, like
please.
I told you, sorry, like I told you, the thing is, like I told you, Divya, it is very difficult for any therapist, any doctor to give you a prognosis of whether your child, when your child is assessed for autism, especially at a very young age of 2.5 to 3 years, it's very difficult for any doctor or any therapist to give you a prognosis to say whether your
Correct.
child will talk or your child will not talk. It depends on the intensity of sensory issues that your child has.
Correct.
I think what is a good starting point, and I'm being a devil's advocate here because I know there are scores of young parents who've just been diagnosed, whose children have just been diagnosed and who are keeping their fingers crossed and doing their best that their child is going to talk, right? You have to be very open to understanding and accepting the fact that autism is a communication disorder. The way it's a disorder, it's not a disease. If I have to put it bluntly, the way their brains are wired is different. So your child is going to remain different all their lives. Even if they pick up the ability to speak, they will be different. This is the bitter truth that every parent has to, step number one, come to terms with. Because it's a communication disorder, your child may not be able to communicate even if they talk. What does that mean? In times, let us assume that a young child who can talk, an autistic child, is very sick and is having a stomach pain. If you go and ask that child, why are you crying? What's wrong? Okay, given the intensity, the sensorial intensity of the stomach pain, the stress, the anxiety of being in a doctor's clinic or, everything else, this child will not be able to tell you clearly, look, my stomach is paining. It's something a 4-year-old neurotypical child can do, but it is not something most autistic children will be able to do, especially in times of crisis. So
Right.
what should you do? You should augment communication. So these days, it is considered a preferred alternative that when you start therapy for your child, start AAC. It does not mean that your child is never going to pick up speech. That is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that about 70% of autistic children are visual learners. Even the ones who are auditory learners also will benefit from an alternative mode of communication. So when you're doing a therapy, when you're teaching your child to communicate, start both. Teach them to speak, teach them to communicate, because for autistic children, speech and communication are two different things. Introduce AAC, introduce simple pictures. Reiterate to the child that you have to tell me what's happening, otherwise I'm not going to be able to understand. And if verbally telling something is difficult for you, use another mode. I mean, we use it all the time, right? We are texting each other, we are sending emails. So when it comes to them, why do we make an exception?
Correct.
Introduce AAC to a child very early on so that the child gets the understanding that if I communicate is when people around me are going to understand.
Correct.
So that is something I think every parent needs to come to terms with. And only time will tell whether your child is going to pick up speech or your child is not going to pick up speech.
Right.
All of us as parents want our child to speak the way you and I do. But 40% of autistic children never pick up speech. And that is also a reality that, we have to come to terms with.
The hard reality you need to face as
Yes.
early as possible to be comfortable with you and your children. Could you elaborate on the what you're talking about that so that viewers could understand?
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking a bit, Divya.
1 minute.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just want you to elaborate a little more on AAC concept, because let the viewers understand what exactly AAC, because it is something very particular with you, but not for everyone to understand. It would be great if you could just put a little light on that.
AAC is alternative augmentative communication. It begins with the understanding that for every autistic child, speech and communication are different. Autism being a communication disorder, communication in the form that's known to us will not exist in most autistic children. You have to augment communication. You have to teach an autistic child to communicate. Now, many a times, speech is not the best option for them to communicate, but they can be taught to communicate using alternate methods. What are some of the alternate methods that are used for communication, right? One is a simple gesture. If you're having headache, hold your head. If your stomach is paining, hold your stomach. You want something from the shelf, point to what you want. Simple gesture and communication. Okay, this is one way of doing alternative. Now, gestural communication is very effective for you to communicate your needs, right? What is the other way? You want to take it one step ahead. Introduce pictures, pecs, or simple picture cards. So if your child wants, for instance, to eat sandwich for breakfast, okay, train your child to pick up the picture of sandwich and give it to you. So you know that your child wants to eat sandwich and not idli for breakfast.
Correct.
That is picture-based communication. For slightly older children with literacy skills, or when you want to develop literacy skills, you can use an alphabet board. You can use Scrabble tiles. You can use, a lot of very simple, things that we use in our homes day to day. Those alphabets that you stick on fridge, magnets you get, even those can be used. Teach your child to spell and communicate. So I ask you a question, what's your name? Okay, they should be able to pick out ADITI and spell Aditi, that ways. So you are, in all of these forms, you are reiterating to the child that though you may not be talking, you can still get your message across to us. You need to communicate.
So that basically different means of communication. You can say different types how a child can, communicate or tell that exactly what is needed to them.
And for most parents, most big cities these days, right? Most tabs, you can use apps like Avas. The advantage being the child can carry it around anywhere that they want. It's just one device that they are carrying. And it is very, flexible. It grows with the child's need. And the child can do anything. They can even talk to you in sentences using that. But that typically would be the last stage, right? You have to work here, work on your child's skills. You have to build your child's communication skills, and then that will come. So those kind of apps are also there.
That's great. I have some good messages for you. It's lovely to listen to you, Shwetha. It's from Sushma. And Padma says, such a beautiful and inspiring journey. Kudos to the entire families. And Aditi, you are a rock star. So
no, I think here I have to mention one thing. Padma is Aditi's, this whole talking fingers, it's basically helped us create this community of 16 authors and mothers. And, we share a lot of things because we have a shared journey, right? So Padma is literally like, Aditi's 3 a.m. friend. She's maha miffed about something, she'll WhatsApp Padma. Then she wants to know something, she'll WhatsApp Padma. And I think huge thanks to Padma for that.
So
because
Padma is like a buddy to Aditi. It's the buddy to Aditi. She's like a buddy to Aditi. Anything and everything going to Padma. So it's a good session. Everybody is loving it and they are happy to know the information you're sharing with us. So any message to the community that you would like to share, or you could just share your thoughts on this?
The only thing is, as a parent, I understand and I've been through this journey. Nobody wants to have a child who's going to have difficulties all their life, right? But autism happens and that ship has already sailed. Having done that, come to terms with the fact that your child is going to be different for the rest of your life. That does not mean your child is not capable. It does not mean that your child is not intelligent. It just means that your child may require a different way of communicating. It just means that your child may require a different way of learning. And as with everybody else, learning is not going to happen overnight. And as a parent, you're more invested in your child's success than any therapist. So don't give up. Keep trying, try a lot of different ways until you find that one way which is going to work for your child. And then trust me, you'll be very surprised at what your child can do.
That's so encouraging. It's so good to know about that. And I would really thank you for giving your time and giving so much information and so sharing so good things about Aditi. Thank you so much for sharing and talking to us and taking through your journey. I really appreciate your time and all the good wishes to Aditi. God bless her. Hope she does everything good in her life. So the session is about to end, but before that, I just need to encourage our parents and caregivers to indulge in self-care. We have started a contest, Be Your Own Time. Share with us how do you look after yourself, or how would you like to pamper yourself. Kindly send your entries before 12th of February. Also to sensitize the community about their role in supporting families and children with special needs. We have taken a target of reaching 1 million hearts. Please join the inclusion and accept the unique. And thanking you, all of you, for joining us over the session. Please look after yourself and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone who have joined the session. It was amazing, and it was good talking to Shwetha.
Thank you. Thank you for having us over. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.